Hello and welcome to Travel Talks, the Grey Doors webinar that talks about all things corporate travel. My name's Kathryn Sari and I'm the Senior Vice President for Asia Pacific, and today I'm joined by my colleague Ben Moylan, our Head of Partnerships and Strategy.
Hi Kathryn, great to be here.
Good to be here. So to kick off the Travel Talks for this year, we're going to talk about travel trends that shape the corporate travel management industry in 2026. Over the next 25 minutes or so, we'll start looking at some of the influential trends and factors that will help you better manage your business travel. And we'll be sharing our predictions, discussing what we're already seeing emerge in the market and highlighting how these trends could impact your business, your travellers and your travel program overall.
Yeah, and as these sessions are live, we like them to be as interactive as possible. So please, if you've got a question, put it in the Q&A function in Zoom and we'll get to it at the end of the Travel Talks. If for whatever reason we're not able to answer all the questions, rest assured that a member of the Travel Talks team will get back to you within the 24 hours.
Fantastic. So let's set the scene a little bit. Business travel has definitely stabilised over many regions in the world. However, we wouldn't say that it's returned to business as usual. We do feel like 2026 will be that pivot year where we turn from recovery into that reinvention stage. We've already seen a major bump in travel in January from a corporate perspective. People are back early, they're planning trips, they're planning events and incentives for the full 12-month period and really getting back to that face-to-face engagement with their staff and their suppliers and clients.
Yeah, exactly. I think companies these days are not asking how do we travel, but why do we travel? And what value does this trip deliver to the business? You know, that shift is driving change in policy and technology, sustainability, and the traveller's expectation as well. So this also brings into sharp focus the levers that you can use to optimise your travel costs, which we'll dig into a bit later.
So in today's webinar, we're not talking about some sci-fi predictions. We're actually looking at some evidence-based trends and things that we're already seeing start forming already.
All right, well, let's start with the big one, AI and automation. So this year, AI, we believe, won't be a nice to have in the corporate travel world. It will start to be embedded across the whole entire travel life cycle.
So I think we're talking about things like AI trip planning, real-time disruption management, predictive pricing insights, and then that personalised traveller recommendation, all working behind the scenes for us.
Yeah, and I think for travel managers who are watching today, this means smarter policy compliance, faster approvals, and better data for decision making. And for the travellers out there, it means less friction, fewer surprises, which we're already seeing with the airlines these days with the disruptions and how they manage that.
Yeah.
Apps are becoming more advanced and it's a better client experience. You know, the disruptions, it's easy to move on to the next flight and so forth. But not every AI tool will work as the market isn't ready. So let's be clear. I don't think AI will replace everything. However, the smart players who we believe we're one of them are working on partnership integrations that combine legacy systems with AI first platforms. So I think cooperation will be key to success as well, as no one brand will be able to combine or complete end-to-end solution at this stage. AI will be an efficiency tool, part of everyday travellers' lives, but it will take time.
Lots of design and development happening behind the scenes here at Grey Doors, but I think the key takeaway is that AI won't replace the human experience. It's going to magnify or amplify the experience that our travellers and travel bookers receive. And it actually allows our team to focus more on the traveller experience and the relationship building, which turns into a way more productive experience.
Yep, exactly.
We're going to flip into the big one, another big one, but it's been around for quite a long time, and that is sustainability, but it's shifting. The intention is shifting. 2026, we see the sustainability topic moving from intention to implementation.
Yeah, exactly. I think companies these days are not just measuring their travel emissions, but they're going to have to prove how to actively reduce it or how they are reducing it.
Correct. It's not such a tick box anymore. We're seeing a growing demand for low carbon travel options at the point of sale. So that means not just air, but hotel and car, and making sure that the traveller really appreciates that level of sustainability. We also see a growing demand for that sustainability reporting. It's becoming mandatory. And finally, supplier accountability. It's not just offsets anymore, it's actually the accountability from the suppliers that we're using.
Yeah, and I think importantly as well, sustainability decisions won't sit solely with the CSR teams anymore. They'll be built directly into travel policies and booking behaviour. We still see a lag in Australia on how sustainability is managed within organisations. For example, in our European office, 5% of everything we sell is sustainability aviation fuel and carbon offset schemes. In Australia, it's far less than that. So corporates are starting to think about the deltas between travel cost and CO2 emissions as well. You need to decide where your priorities are. Is it lower cost or low emissions? Because they don't really go hand in hand.
So for 2026, sustainable choices feels less like an exception and more like the default position.
Yeah, agree. All right, so next trend, it's all about the traveller. So predictions, business trips in 2026 will be shorter, fewer, but more meaningful.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk from a personal point of view being more intentional, and we're definitely seeing companies becoming way more intentional this year. A trip needs to be approved and consider the value, the collaboration, the relationship building, and some sort of return on investment.
Yeah, that's right. And that's driving the focus on better flight timings, higher quality of accommodation, location that supports productivity and well-being. But we're also seeing a rise in off-site meetings from our clients, but also too internally. So this is where you're bringing people who are working remotely into an environment to collaborate with colleagues. We can see the improvement in engagement and in performance and staff turnover as a result.
It's really becoming part of the fabric of corporate life as property estates shrink. And really, in other words, travel managers will increasingly optimise for outcomes, not just cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Cost will still matter, but value and outcomes will matter more.
Yeah. And just interesting, I thought I would throw in a bit of interesting information. A recent study by a Spanish tech company, HBX, came up with some predictions in the area of experience-led travel, not just for leisure travel, but for corporate travel also. Some of their trends which really stood out to me are the emergence of something called coolcationing.
Wow.
Very cool name, but that is avoiding peak times and going instead in the shoulder season. And looking at shoulder season offerings, not just for leisure, but for corporate travel too. And as well as the rise of things like wellness, sport and music type tourism travel, and combining those things with trips to enhance that wellbeing for our travellers.
Yeah, I think there's another term for that as well called fandom tourism. So there we go, new one for today. Like through our own work in the events and particularly the leisure travel space for our corporate clients, we are seeing the rise of some great travel trends, such as living like a local and the traveller's desire to really understand and appreciate the experience.
Yeah, that's completely right. I often hear our Grey Doors private travel team's mantra, and that is, travel is a life insurance for happiness, and it makes a lot of sense. So any opportunity to combine business travel with a bit more of that personal wellness angle can only be a good thing for both the individual traveller and for the company, as there's a benefit from an increased productivity point of view. So it's definitely something that's starting to be talked about more through our HR channels in our corporate travel companies that we look after. So now we're going to flip to data security. It's annoying, but it's probably the biggest thing in the world at the moment. We all see these terrible incidents that happen in the media. It's a really defining trend for corporate travel in 2026, and it will be something that the industry is really focusing on, that data integrity.
Yeah, so our very own Chief Technology Officer Sophie Taylor is featured in this month's Business Travel magazine talking exactly about this. So Sophie points out that as a volume of digital interactions grow and data breaches reach unprecedented levels, businesses can no longer afford to treat information such as a back office concern. It must become more of a strategic priority embedded across the entire travel ecosystem.
I think that's right. So for travel programs to remain resilient, organisations must look beyond their own internal systems and examine the robustness of the whole supply chain. True data integrity really, as we know, is only as strong as the weakest link. And that means we need to start holding our suppliers to a higher standard from an incident management point of view, from a cyber readiness and from a business continuity planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by fostering transparent collaboration and aligning on shared security expectations, the industry can protect travellers, safeguard sensitive information, and maintain operational stability. At Great Oars, we see data integrity not just as a compliance requirement, but as a cornerstone of trusted future-ready travel management.
Thinking about the corporate policy and what that looks like for 2026, we sort of have a bit of an interesting paradox. We predict that travel policies will become a bit more flexible for all the reasons that we've just discussed, but they'll also be more tightly managed.
Yeah, right. Well, I think flexibility will show up in areas like blended travel. We've probably all heard the term bleisure, as we discussed earlier. Class cabin decisions. So the investment by airlines in premium economy is amazing. And supply choice. So loyalty is key for airlines. And we'll see this come into play more with NDC on airlines. So NDC being the new distribution capability. Our UK office have been using this for a good part of 8 years. Locally, Qantas is driving that in an Australian market. So it's probably for the last year to 18 months, it's been more of a focus here. But behind the scenes, controls will still be stronger than ever.
Yeah. So real-time data, dynamic policy rules, and automated compliance will replace that sort of static one-size-fits-all policy.
And what's the result? Travellers feel more empowered.
Yeah.
While organisations will retain visibility, control and consistency as well.
I guess this is related and probably the most important thing for a corporate travel management program, and that is the duty of care. It's a really big area that's going to be under the microscope over the next 12 months. We already know over the last few years the geopolitical environment has been so unstable, and we really need to start thinking about how we protect and look after our travellers while they're out of the office. So we're really seeing a shift from that reacting to incidents to being more proactive and preventing and anticipating the risk of a traveller on their journey.
Yeah, and I think that would include proactive traveller alerts, risk scoring by destination and trip type, and real-time tracking integration with booking data. So the expectation will be that companies know where their travellers are, understand the risk and can act immediately. Risk management will change from a shotgun approach to a rifle shot, way more targeted in answering the so what question. So here's the issue and what do we do about it?
So it can't be a standalone function anymore. It has to be fully integrated into that travel ecosystem. Here at Great Doors Travel, we deliver that process through TripSure, which is fully embedded into the travel ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. And if you want more information on TripSure, visit our website, which you can have the information there. So there's so much more that we can cover, but we'll talk about that. We are going to run out of time, but let me go to the questions and see if we've got a question here. So thank you for all the questions that are coming through. I've got one here, yeah. So it's slightly off topic, but thank you very much for sending it through. So there's a question regarding the recent changes to Australian residents or dual passport holders who hold a UK or Irish passport. Can you give further information on that?
Absolutely. It's been a very hot topic amongst the industry, our organisation, and conversations we're having with our clients. So from the 25th of February, which is only a little way away, It's important to note for all travellers and travel managers that Australian British or Australian Irish dual citizens must enter the UK on a British passport, not an Australian passport. There is a sense that they'll be denied boarding if that's not presented at check-in. So it's something that the traveller obviously needs to take some responsibility for, but as an organisation, we're asking that question for anyone that's travelling into the UK. The bad news is if you do need to go and get a new British passport, the wait time's now increased up to 20 weeks. So
Wow.
there are a lot of people rushing to make sure that they've got their British passport to enter the UK. So important note, thank you for asking the question. We're doing all we can for every trip to the UK, making sure that that question's been asked, and we don't want anyone to get caught out and denied boarding for a corporate or a leisure or a holiday. So yeah, good question. Thank you. There are a couple of others here. I don't think we've run out of time. We're not going to get to them, but we will absolutely come back to you.
Yeah, exactly right. So a member of the travel teams will come back to you with responses there. So thank you so much, as Kathryn said, for sending them through. If you would like to continue the conversation with Grey Doors, please feel free to reach out to Kathryn or myself, or please visit the Grey Doors website where you can download lots of information and see a recording of travel talks as well.
So I think you can wrap it up, Ben.
Wrap it up, I will. So yeah, really just the key takeaways, 3 messages to take into 2026. So technology, it's always high on the list, but it will drive smarter, more human travel experiences. Sustainability, another one that's been on the list, but now it'll move to operational more than optional. And last is value. So really the well-being, the risk management will define successful travel program.
For sure. So we believe at Grey Doors, the organisations that will succeed in 2026 won't be the ones that are travelling the most, but will be the ones that are travelling the best, with purpose, with intention, and really thinking about that return on investment. Thank you everybody for joining us. We've really enjoyed talking to you today, and we hope to hear from you with any questions that you have, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.